So you want to have a VBAC. Step 2, we are diving into what kind of education would help you to prepare for the VBAC that you want. We're going to dive into that today, okay? And so if you're here for it, stick around. Hi everyone, my name is Leslie. I'm a disciple, wife, mom, and childbirth doula, and this is where I share about all things birth, faith, and family. And today we are continuing the series that I've started on So You Want to Have a VBAC, and we're going to dive into, I'm using the health model I've kind of already presented in my Steps to Birth Prep series. If you haven't checked that out, I'll link it down below. The first step, we're kind of following this acronym called HEALTH, but we're diving into it specifically for those that are pursuing VBACs. And so this is, H is for healing. That was our last video. Today we are diving into education, okay? E for education. So education that would be helpful for your VBAC. Well, number one, I'm going to tell you, is get your paperwork, your birth records from your last birth. Okay, that's the best place to start, I would say, with education around a VBAC, is to see your specific case, is to get the information from your provider. Maybe you've switched providers and you're looking to have a different provider take a look at it. You can share that with them. I think it's important for you to read through it, for you to understand really what happened. What is the reason for why you ended up in a C-section? Was it listed as failure to progress? Was it the child was in distress? Was it, what was it? What was it? And you can kind of help build those pieces together with the information that you can get from your birth records. And so I encourage you to get those. I think that's the first place to start with education, because it will specifically educate you around what happened in your situation and what did they do, right? For example, I had a mom who reached out to me and told me that she had already had a successful VBAC and she had her third. She went in for her third. She was progressing very quickly, but for some reason, it wasn't until she explained to me, showed me her birth records, that I know that I saw that she'd been given Pitocin. She was already progressing. She was already in active labor, and they put Pitocin on top of it. And then she ended up with, all she had told me was, I ended up with a uterine rupture. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense. You had more than enough time. You had already had a successful VBAC before your C-section 10 years ago. And like, why was there a uterine rupture? And so she pulled out her records and she was like, and I saw that they'd given her Pitocin after she was already in active labor. And she was like, yeah, I didn't even know I'd agreed to it. And that made her realize, like, that's why now she looks at it and she's like, oh, well, that's probably why I had a uterine rupture. It was my own body producing contractions plus the Pitocin on top of it overexerted my uterus and ended in a uterine rupture with an emergency. She ended up in an emergency C-section with a uterine. They didn't even notice that she'd had a uterine rupture until she'd already opted in for the repeat C-section. So all of that to say that reading your records can really help to give you some insight as to what is going on, okay? And so I highly recommend taking the time to read your records and find out specifically what happened with your past birth. That's the best place to start with education, because if you find out that it was like baby was posterior, baby presented posterior, or baby was maybe you had to elect for C-section because baby never turned, right? But whatever it was, like, there's certain, like, if you find out that it's because baby was posterior, then you can be working on your posture and different positions. And I would recommend specifically looking at something like Gilligan's Guide or Body Ready Method to help you with, especially Body Ready Method, because they have a whole program for during your pregnancy that can help you be doing exercises that can help your body to be moving and be able to find positions for birth, right? That's going to be my next step. I recommend Body Ready Birth for anybody going to give birth, but I specifically think it's helpful if you have a little bit of insight as to like what happened with your C-section. It can help you, why you ended up in a C-section can help you to prepare to not end up in one again. right? And so for that mom, she opted for a different hospital, because for her, she was like, I didn't know and I was unaware, and so I've opted for a different hospital and a different provider this time, due to her experience. I'm not saying that that's what you have to do. It was just in her case, that's what she decided to do after looking at her information, right? And so again, it is so helpful to just look at your records, take a look, maybe see if it's something that like even your doula would be open to taking a look at, to kind of help you get more insight as to like what could have happened. There are even midwives and OB nurses who will do stuff like this, who they'll help you consult on your birth. For example, Bundle Birth is one of them. She's an OB nurse. She's got like a whole, she used to do consulting on birth, so I'd check her out. Bundle Birth. I know that Ann Gilligan from Gilligan's Guide, she does consults for birth as well. I know that the midwife that I highly recommend from, and I'm sorry I don't know her name, but off the top of my head I can't remember right now, but I do listen to her podcast, the Your Birth God's Way. That midwife, she will do consults. She also used to be a labor and delivery nurse, so she has experience from both sides. She worked in births in the hospital, and she worked in births outside of the hospital, and so she could really help to give you a consult on your birth and take a look at some of these medical records. Again, like guys, I'm not affiliated with any of these. I don't have like affiliate links or anything for any of this stuff. This is just knowledge that I've gained over the years as a doula, and so I want to share it in hopes that like you guys know you're not alone in this, and you have resources that you can find. Maybe you're like, I don't have a doula next to me or whatever, like hop on and get a consult with one of these women. I also recommend Tracy Weafer at Maternal Instincts. I think she's absolutely awesome, and she does consults as well for your birth and can help you birth plan, and all virtual, right? And I've worked with her myself. Like, she's awesome. And so there are these awesome, great resources available, and they want to help you have the birth that you desire. And so maybe you it's just a matter of like, you just don't know that their resources are available. You just don't know that they're out there. And so that's what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that they're out there, okay? And so I hope that that's helpful. Those are specific resources I would recommend. I mean, on top of my education video, I do recommend taking a look at that. I'm not going to repeat all those things all over again. I do recommend taking a look at what I already put in that video in terms of ways you can prepare an education for birth. But on top of that, specifically, if you want a VBAC, take a look at the history, educate yourself about your past birth, because that will help you. And I think that's all I've got for today. If this was helpful, please leave a comment down below. Let me know. If you are pursuing a VBAC and you want prayer for that, let me know, and I would love to be praying for you. Let me know in the comments. And also, I will include those links to those people that I referenced down below, so that you don't have to worry about trying to find them and all of that stuff, just so it's helpful, quick, easy. We're trying to make this as easy as possible for you, because we know birth is not easy. It's called labor for a reason, but just because it's hard doesn't mean it's bad, okay? That's a quote from Abby Helbers. I'm never good at pronouncing her last name. Abby H at M is for Mama. And so, like, I love her stuff. Super encouraging stuff for moms. But I just encourage you, that's a little bonus there. She does not do birth education, but she has had 10 babies of her own. So that's why I'm sharing it. Anyways, God bless y'all. Have a good one. I will see you in the next one. Bye.